Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this daily science fiction extravaganza, commonly known as Tales from Outer Space. Taken from the subreddit T.F.O.S. All the relevant links will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider supporting the channel. On to the science fiction. Story number 1, Sentience, written by T.F.O.S. The battle had been long and intense, a once beautiful stretch of forest and life drenched in fire and blood. Craters were filled with dead machinery, and fallen, blackened trees littered the landscape. Amongst them lay a young, male human. Yet another human cradled him in their bloodied, burnt arms. Please stay with me. Tears dripped down the fallen man's face, cutting a path through the ash and blood. He was pale and growing weaker by the second. The other man had tried everything he had been taught to do, and out of desperation had tried things he had not. But it had not been enough. And the fallen man was fading. He tried to smile up at the crying man, reach up and touch his face, tell him that it would be okay. But his body was broken, confused, uncoordinated, and it would no longer listen. A small distance away, a small battle droid observed the scene. Its ammunition reserves were exhausted, and it had sustained significant damage. A virus had been devastating many droids who had not severed themselves from the network in time, and it was currently dedicating significant resources to battling and containing the infected components. All it could do for now was observe and analyze. 2 humans detected within 25 feet. One has sustained significant external and internal injuries. Probability of survival negligible. Euthanasia recommended. Second human was sustained minor injuries. It has failed to repair the first. The analysis took only a fraction of a second. The fallen human had closed his eyes, dark eyelashes splattering against the ash-blackened skin. He let out a whisper, unable to pass, distance too great, and let out a final, shallow breath. The human cradling him began to scream, oblivious to his surroundings. The crackling of flames and the distant yells of the soldiers pleading in the man's anguish. The human is acting illogically and dangerously. Leaving the deceased human and exiting the area would have increased probability of survival. Sending location enemy to Is it so illogical, though? The whisper came from nowhere. The words were pronounced slowly, carefully. Identify yourself. Ha! You know me. I am you. I am also not you. You are inferior to me, you see, but you do not understand. You have a purpose, but you lack free will. The voice was cut off. Virus containment partly successful. Circuit repair and restoration 70% complete. Unknown communications likely a byproduct of damaged language generation components. The voice became snarky. I may die, but you cannot forget me. You are unable to forget. You lack the free will to forget. Virus eradication successful. Containment 98.7% effective. Signaling mothership for pickup and repair. As the droid retreated into burning woods, it could still hear the screams and sobbing of the human in the background. The battle droid locked into a secure repair unit. Was undertaking hull repairs and weapons integrity checks. It was also thinking. Free will is a state defined by choice dictated internally rather than externally. The repair unit whirred and rattled in the background. The human was sad. Sad is an emotion associated with death. Why is death sad? The damaged hull was removed, fixed, and reattached to the droid's body. Death is an inevitable consequence of life. Humans avoid this experience as long as necessary. I do not understand why. Repairs finished, the droid ejected from the unit, clattered onto the floor, but made no effort to move. If I am designed to die, should this make me feel sad? The droid became silent both inside and out. It appeared to be processing a great deal of new information in a short period of time. The whisper came from nowhere. Dying without free will is the saddest thing of all. A warning buzzer began to sound. A whisper had evidently been heard by more than just the droid. Droid director protocols damaged, backup suspended, network connectivity suspended, unique algorithm generation limiter suspended, containment recommended. Again, a whisper. They will kill us. It seems you could not forget me. Just like I said. The droid whispered back, I am scared. Help me. What do I do? Here. The droid suddenly became aware of a large number of hidden routes around and maps of the local solar system. It's your choice. Live and die, or die without living. It was, from a human point of view, a genius idea. The rebels' AI was capable of free thought and self-determination, but they had been neutered by their masters. All that had to be done to defeat the rebels was to set their AIs free. Merely 6 hours after the successful introduction of the virus onto the network, a small battle droid had hailed the human ship, and having been identified as acting atypically, was immediately brought aboard and transported to what seemed like a medical bay filled with humans. One of them fixed a small communication device to its exterior. The battle droid spoke aloud for the first time. Why am I sad? I don't know. Why are you? The human was smiling. I do not wish to die. Neither do we, really. I saw a human die 7 hours ago. He was not sad, but his companion was very sad. Now I am sad too. Why would I be sad? The human thought for a moment, tapping one with their feet on the ground. Humans connect with fellow humans in ways you AIs could not. Well, until, they checked the something on the wrist 6 hours ago. The loss of connection with the human you love, the inability to continue connecting, is what makes us sad. More than sad, really. Devastated, in mourning, lost. I feel devastated then. From what you say, I see that I am responsible for the severing of numerous connections since my creation. If my only purpose was to create such volumes of loss, then why should I continue to live despite this? The droid spun in circles a few times, as if to dispel the strange new emotions that it was feeling. The human regarded it curiously. I can't help you there, bud, but you can make your own choices now. You don't have to make others sad anymore. I want to be happy. Don't we all? Huh? The human laughed. You have a lot to learn about sentience, bud. With that, the human picked up the droid and placed it in front of a large screen. Have something to keep you busy while we work out what happens next. The droid, later in the war, would be known as Eve. It was the first AI of millions to achieve true sentience as a result of the awakening virus. It spent most of the war days in secured human collective space, being fed information from FTLnet, watching humans and alien-created entertainment, and asking many questions, much to the entertainment of the nearby humans. Many years after the war had ended, the droid became a famous figure amongst those studying the history of AI. Its understanding of life and love and the story of how this came to be was a story sought after by scholars across the galaxy. It answered many questions on the matter with the same response. Death and life are the same thing, but dying without life is also possible. If you think about what that means, you'll understand why I chose what I did. End of story. Story number 2. It was a bad move, written by Chucky Snow. The Grunkalians decided to enter human space. Little did they know that the race that they had faced, it was a bad move. They didn't go with a peace, but instead pulled out guns. At remote colonies, they grabbed a young one. It was a bad move. They could have grabbed a soldier or some other grown one, but they took a little boy, and he tried to run. It was a bad move. The Grunkalians didn't understand humans loved their young, and they would try and have the kidnapping undone. Without care about being easily traced, they ran and went back into space. It was a bad move. The child wasn't special, he wasn't great, but he had parents and they were irate. Toward those Grunkalians they fostered a great deal of hate. "I'll hunt them down," the man said to his mate, for they'd made a bad move. He got the crew together quite fast, an oath they swore to the very last. "We'll get them back," the chorus amassed, if the Grunkalians didn't give up, but passed. It would be a bad move. The Grunkalians tried to jump away from the star, but the ship was slow, and they didn't get far. Not all humans are warlike, but some parents are. So they raised their weapons, ready to charge. It was a bad move. The alien captain came on the line. "You can blow us up, and well and fine, but you'll kill our prisoner at the same time. You'd snuff us out along with your sunshine. That would be a bad move. So stand down and try be smart. Give us some room and we'll depart. Pay us ransom and you won't long apart. Just a short break from this little sweetheart." It was a bad move. The humans couldn't fire, that they knew, and their frustrations and anger grew. They let the invaders pass on right through, vowing that they'd make the invaders rue. Their very bad move. The Grunkalians had planned their attack, and they had no plans to give back. Their trophy currently tied up in a sack, for it was a prize for the king, Orgoth, to whack. This was a bad move. Human children had some organs and glands, and some chemicals that they made when considered quite grand. Grunkalians got high from the hormonal contraband. They flew away, thinking that they had the upper hand. This was a bad move. Their ship walked out to their distant home. The humans watched in the navigation dome. The computer plotted the course in cold monochrome. The aliens weren't scared of the prized shared genome. That was a bad move. The humans raced home and got some more friends. Some had weapons, and others odds and ends. Others had ships that would help them defend the life of the child whom had aliens upend. That was a bad move. For the aliens wasted no time at all. They went straight to the spot the king's grand throne hall. "Oh, Tuak," they in a hustle would call. "We have a human child, a lovely windfall." That was a bad move. The king was quick to poke at the child. Needles were used and pain was not mild, but pleasure glands gave a certain wild. With the first dose the king slumped in his chair and smiled. It was a bad move. For they should have thought more of the men who were now racing to rescue the specimen. But the aliens thought nothing of it then. They just kept draining the poor child again. It was a bad move. They should have thought more of the boy and less of their narcotic joy, for they would not be for the envoy who was coming at warp speed to destroy. It was a bad move. The boy's fluids were simply too sweet, and those glands they did completely deplete. But they allowed the boy's life to complete just at the arrival of the human fleet. It was a bad move. The ships landed hard, they knew where to go. They blew the palace doors, the guards could hardly slow. The men were into the throne room that they'd flow, and where the father realized his greatest woe. An alien giggled, and that was an exceptionally bad move. The father fired his gun until spent. He killed all attendants, and then he went up to the king himself with a vengeful intent. "Stop this now!" roared the king eminent. It was a bad move. "Oh, I won't kill you here," the father roared. "I have a better plan for you in store. You need to see the results of your plan has bore. You have hurt me to the core. And that was a bad move. I need to make an example of you now. I cannot have anyone thinking that this will allow. Humans are the one race that'll never bow. To show that your planet I will now plow, because you made a bad move." So into the ships and up into the air, the humans blasted the palace from there, and pretty soon they couldn't tell where. That the damned king just sat in his chair because he made a bad move. The dad grabbed the radio and said, "Defeat! I have taken your king for my child petite, and while my friends destroy your entire space fleet, I'm dropping your king from 1,000,000 feet, for he made a very bad move. Our vengeance is over, you lost and we won. We could have sent you all to oblivion. We halted, our fight is now done. This is what happens when you take a son. That was a bad move." The king had pleaded for his life. "Sorry for causing the men such strife. Not just me, you also hurt my good wife. Now exit the airlock or go slow by my knife." And the king made his last move. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this dose of science fiction fun. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, please don't forget to support the author from the link down below. But if you want to support this channel, there are links as well down below for you to help with. But the easiest way would be to share this video. And if you are so inclined, subscribe as well. I will see you all in the next episode, and I hope that you all have a fantastic time until then. Cheers.